best of Nikola Jokic Tuesday as the 76ers won 126-121 versus the Nuggets. Joel Embiid finishes with 41 points and 10 assists in a win versus Jokic and the Nuggets. Perk took to social media following the huge win from the Sixers, saying, "Philly fans need to stop crying on what the Eagles didn't do and embrace what the 76ers team is capable of doing this season." Real talk. On that note, we welcome in Brian Windhorst. Hey, Windy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mad Dog, I'm going to start with you. Does Embiid have enough to win the title this year?
No, he does not. That team is not winning the NBA championship. And Perk, to be fair, the Eagles just had a historic collapse. They're not going to get the Philadelphia sports fan right now is wrapped up on Sirianni and the Eagle disaster, not so much on Jokic and Embiid. No, but make a bigger picture point. The Sixers are not an NBA championship team. I know in the last couple of years, Harden took the hits as he should have, and without him, they'd be better. But I still don't think they're better than the Celtics or Milwaukee in the East. And one other thing on this topic, I mean, somewhere Kareem is laughing and Wilt upstairs is saying, "This is ridiculous." How in the world? I watched a lot of this game. Can Embiid and Jokic play against each other on a couple trips down the court? I mean, Embiid's guarding freaking Aaron Gordon and freaking Embiid's guarding, Tobias Harris. I mean, how about going up against each other for crying out loud? This is not what NBA centers are all about. Go ask Russell and Wilt. Did Wilt go out there and guard Heinsohn and Russell guard freaking Luke Jackson? I mean, Wilt and Kareem had some of the greatest matchups in the history of the NBA, and they're not guarding each other. Shaq guarded Robinson, Ewing guarded Robinson, Malone guarded Kareem, and I got Jokic and Embiid afraid of each other, not guarding. They play 2 games a year, and hopefully Embiid shows up next week in Denver. Last year he didn't. Hopefully he shows up and plays the game in 10 days. But this is ridiculous. We got 2 big players, the 2 best centers in the league, and against each other they're not playing. That's why people laugh at this nonsense. This is not about Jokic and it should be. This should be about the best center and the second best center head-to-head. They don't play against each other. One guards somebody else and one guards this guy. That's not what centers are about in the history of the league. Oh, it drove me crazy. But no, Philadelphia is not winning an NBA championship. How's that?
Wendy?
Well, I know that I wasn't around back in the 50s, Mad Dog, when you were there with a hot dog in one hand and a pennant in the other watching Dolph Schayes go up against George Mikan. Yeah. But I don't know if we've ever seen the level of skill at the center position like the 2 of these guys going up against each other. And in the modern NBA, and the way that modern NBAs play defense, this is going up against each other. Now, all teams played in the finals, and I'll talk about that in a second. It's not impossible. I think over a long series, you would see them going up against each other. But a couple of things I want to keep in mind. One, it was the second night of a back-to-back for Embiid, which he played despite having a sore knee, and he obviously cared about because the way he came out in this game, he poured it into this game. Secondly, Embiid is a shot blocker. They want him to be able to be a help defender so he can come over and defend. And in the modern defense, where there's switching, where there's helping and stuff, there's a case to be made that Embiid can potentially be more impactful defensively if he's off Jokic. Jokic is not as much of a shot blocker and is more of a stationary defender, and so it makes more sense for him to try to use his length against Embiid's ability to operate from the top of the key. But that is the modern game. And you know what's amazing about the modern game, Dog? That right after this game ended, you could switch over and watch Phoenix play Sacramento. And in the 4th quarter of that game, Kevin Durant played center against Domantas Sabonis. And Durant had 15 points in the 4th, and Sabonis had a triple-double. And you could see a mastery of big men in a different way. That's where we are at in a wonderful place in this league right now, where we have incredibly sized, skilled men doing things the league has never seen before, with all due respect to Mr. Russell, Mr. Chamberlain, Mr. Abdul-Jabbar, etc. Now, when it comes to Philadelphia, I agree with you that they are not the Boston Celtics. And in my mind, they're definitely behind the Celtics, the Clippers, and the Nuggets. Those 3 teams, in my view, are a cut above everybody else. But where the 76ers are different is they have yet to make their moves. Boston's made their big moves. Denver's made their big moves. Clippers have made it. Daryl Morey has 3 tradable first-round draft picks, 6 tradable second-round draft picks. over $100 million in expiring contracts. Not that I think that they'll use all of them, that he can go to work with in the next 3 weeks to add pieces to this team. And because Tyrese Maxey has been so good, they don't have to get a star player like James Harden. They can get some role players. And then let's judge where they are come about February 15th as opposed to January 15th.
Doggy, let me say this to you. There has never been a day where you have been on First Take with a particular take that I will defend you more than I will right now with your point about guys going directly up against one another in the sport of basketball. That's what makes basketball special. And these analytic dudes have kind of ruined all of that because they play a numbers game, they play the odds, and they say, hey, this is the decision that you need to make, and they forget the ultimate appealing component that comes with the game of basketball on occasion, Wendy, and that is it's me against you. You know, I remember when, if you recall in the days of Jordan, when there were certain people that would get on his nerves, or he would fabricate something just to pretend as if they got on their nerves, so he'd go out on a court and destroy them. We've heard what he did to Clyde Drexler during Olympic competition because, my goodness, that was an opportunity. Not in the Olympic competition, I'm sorry, in the finals when they went up against Portland, and we saw what Jordan did. He was absolutely Herculean. We remember when Kobe Bryant got injured and had to wear a mask, and the very next week, Miami came to town, and D. Wade had to go up against Kobe, and they were guarding one another and going at one another. It's moments like that. This year, when I was on Podcast P, Paul George's podcast, right? And he was talking about how he was going to play bully ball, even though he was saying it was against everybody. Him and Devin Booker were chirping at one another. They go up against one another a few weeks ago. One drops 35, the other drops 33. They're going at one another. We live for this. We would lament the fact that on occasion, when we talked about Kawhi and how Kawhi could be a stopper and what he could do against LeBron, vice versa, he was guarding LeBron. We looked forward to that, and we wanted LeBron to embrace that matchup publicly, and he wouldn't give us the father to really, really gravitate to it. We want that in the sport of basketball. But don't ever, doggy, blame Embiid, because Embiid chirps, he talks, and then he go, and this is the beauty about Embiid. He talks about the people he directly is going to go up against before he goes up against them, then goes on the court looking for them to bust their living you know what. We've seen, Wendy knows this, we've seen that from Embiid time and time and time again. Embiid is not the culprit here, doggy, with what you're pointing out. Accurately, I might add. It's not him. He wants the dudes that you claim to be better than him at his position. And then he goes out on the court and annihilates them. Remember what he did to Rudy Gobert a few years ago when Rudy Gobert was Defensive Player of the Year, Wendy, and Embiid went up against this man? This is what I'm talking about. That's basketball. That's what we love to see. We understand things schematically. We understand in clutch moments you're going to look for elements that lead to you winning a game. But on far too many occasions, the coaches, the executives, the assistants, everybody gets in the way of that mano-a-mano moment that we're looking forward to in the sport of basketball. When it's the fault of the players, condemn it. But most times it's not. Now let me get to the Sixers. Saying this quickly. I don't believe the Sixers are going to win. I picked the Boston Celtics to win it all. And I agree with Wendy. Denver, Clippers, Boston, cut above Philly. But let me say this. Let's not act like Philly can't win it with Embiid looking like this, with Maxey looking like this. And here's the key. Tobias Harris has to show up. A loss against Atlanta about 4 games ago, he drops 32. A win against Sacramento about 3 games ago, he drops 37. Last night, he dropped, what was it, 24? If that Tobias Harris shows up, it changes everything. It changes everything because that's your third option. And Tobias Harris is a 17-point-per-game scorer on 51% shooting. This brother can play. He just needs to be aggressive and embrace that third wheel as an offensive component to the Philadelphia 76ers. By the way, averaging 7 more points per game, okay? Defensive rating is the same. Philadelphia's offense is better. Their defense has not diminished.
I'm up
Watch
against
out
it.
for
Got to
the
hit the
Sixers.
top of the hour. Yeah, they have the 3rd best odds to win the East. We'll keep it going, guys. Coming up on First Take, which team has the most pressure To take it all the way, Lamar and the Ravens or the Niners? We debate.